foul. 2 balls and a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires, swinging a drive, deep left field. It's his way back. Welcome up, Chris Taylor.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by DodgerBlue.com's Matthew Moreno. Matt, we're talking baseball, Hall of Fame, some former Dodgers involved, and, Hall of Fame voters doing what they do best, Matt, keeping people out of the Hall of Fame. Just 2 players elected to join the Hall of Fame, Fred McGriff, who was elected by an ERA committee, and then Scott Rowland, the recently announced electee. Former Dodgers, Jeff Kent, Garry Sheffield, Andruw Jones, among others, fall short. I'll start with just big picture. I mean, is it weird to you that so few guys have been getting into the Hall of Fame, or do you think steroids and all of that kind of stuff justifies?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think it's justified in some sense, but I think there needs to be like a middle ground found where, like, hey, these guys can still get elected, but it's going to be with the kind of the caveat of, I know of, they were part of kind of the steroids era, if you will, or, suspected or whatever the case may be. And I know some people have proposed maybe doing like a wing where players like involved in steroids would go. And that's a tricky subject because obviously, like, I don't agree with the use of steroids, but I think MLB definitely turned the other way as all of that was going on because, hey, like, entertainment was up, home runs were flying out, attendance and interest skyrocketed. But yeah, I mean, I think it would be nice to find some common ground, but also I'm not somebody who honestly gets up in arms with the Hall of Fame voting each year. To me, like, it is what it is, and just keep moving on to the next year. Yeah,
I'm with you. So Scott Rowland was the only guy that was sort of elected the traditional way. You need 75% of votes. He got that. And Rowland was a great player. I mean, great defensive player, a guy that sort of fits that bill. The closest guy who didn't get in was Todd Helton, the guy that many Dodgers fans would be very familiar with, a really good player. Many people sort of seem to expect that he might get in next year. But as far as former Dodgers go, Andruw Jones got 58% of the votes. He has 4 more chances. Garry Sheffield, who has just 1 try left, got 55%. But that was about a 14.5% increase from last year. So some people think he's trending in the right direction. Jeff Kent, 46.5%. He is now off the ballot, so he will not get voted in through this way. Manny Ramirez, 33% of the vote. I don't know, Matt, are we claiming Bobby Abreu, who got 15%, or Jimmy Rollins, who got 13% of the votes? Those are kind of the former Dodgers in the mix. Any big surprises there? I mean, Jeff Kent, Garry Sheffield, Andruw Jones, these are kind of polarizing guys, I think, especially in Dodgers territory, in at least a couple cases.
Yeah, I think with Jeff Kent, and I'm just speculating here, I think he's probably being hurt by just, some of, and his perception of how he was maybe with media as a player, because now media is who is voting him. I mean, I guess not voting him into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
The others, Sheffield, Ramirez, I think, again, it kind of ties back to some people on it, like it is what it is in some cases with the steroids. I was disappointed that our guy, Andre Ethier, didn't get 1 vote. So he's completely off the ballots now. But hey, maybe I think coming up, there's going to be Chase Utley type and Adrian Beltre and Adrian Gonzalez. So it'll be more quote unquote former Dodgers that we can stump for.
Yeah, and hey, former Dodger Fred McGriff getting into the Hall of Fame, so good time. But I mean, just looking at this list, look, I have a minority opinion on Jeff Kent, which is if the best argument for him is he has the most home runs ever by a second baseman, a position that is historically a weak hitting position, I'm like, who cares? Like, I would rather have a shortstop who played a harder defensive position and maybe had the exact same numbers, but those guys aren't even getting considered. I don't think just because you played a position where teams tended to put their weakest hitter and you were better than all the rest of the weakest hitters, to me, that's not justification for getting into the Hall of Fame. Like, Garry Sheffield was a far better baseball player than Jeff Kent was. Andruw Jones, I just hold a grudge because of how abysmal he was as a Dodger, and I'm like, a Hall of Famer cannot have an 18-month stretch as bad as Andruw Jones did while taking fat paychecks from the Dodgers. So that's half joking on Andruw Jones. The Jeff Kent one, he's falling off the ballot, so we won't have to have this conversation. But those are my thoughts there. But you mentioned it. Adrian Beltre is among those on next year's ballot. Chase Utley as well. Some people think Beltre might be a unanimous first-time guy to get in. Carlos Beltran, the highest first-time vote getter this time. He only got like 35%. So there's some optimism that Beltre, Joe Mauer might be some guys who get in on the first try next year. And then you've got some more, I think, favorable Hall of Fame candidates coming down the pipeline. I mean, Beltre, I'll just ask you briefly. We know in baseball you don't go in as a member of a team necessarily like you do in some other spots. I know his breakup with the Dodgers wasn't necessarily awesome, but he'll always be. The rest of these guys, I'm like, well, Jeff Kent, was he a Dodger? Garry Sheffield, probably a Marlin. Andruw Jones, probably a Brave. Jimmy Rollins, probably a Philly. Adrian Beltre is a Dodger in my book.
Oh man, that's tough. I can see the reasoning for it, but for me, he's not. I think his career like just took off more so with the Texas Rangers, and frankly, like I think once he is inducted, and I will say I don't think it'll be unanimous. I think that there's always someone who makes it. You know, all it takes is one, right? And so it's such an easy thing to achieve. I think he will get voted in probably first ballot, not necessarily unanimous, and I think he'll go in with his Rangers hat, but. And then we could do a video of you saying why he should have put on, he should have a Dodgers cap on his plaque.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Am I wrong on Jeff Kent? Are you an Andruw Jones believer? Do you claim Fred McGriff as a Dodger? Let us know below. That's Matt Moreno. My name's Jeff Spiegel. As always, thanks for joining us here on Dodger Heads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. Please be sure to ring the notification bell. Click subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Spread the word as well. We'd love to have more folks from the Dodgers community join our show. Enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, go Dodgers.